Hi babies, and welcome back to my channel. I love you guys so much. Look, I'm gonna start with that. I love y'all so much. It's something about this spot. Like, I'm in Phillipsburg, and that's kind of like the town center. I think I might have shared that before, but yes, and this little spot, you know something gonna come up out of this. So y'all, when you see this chalkboard writing, just know, okay? Anyway, let's get into my discussion today, okay? When it comes to taking action, sometimes immediately with something you need to set an energetic or physical boundary, because of certain societal, cultural, or even religious foundations that we may be conditioned through, we may hold ourselves to guilt or shame or feeling like we are bad people after doing those things. And the reality is, as you build up the momentum and are on your journey of healing, you need to release that, okay? Because all it's doing is stagnating or preventing what it is you're already continuously creating as part of the life that you are living and what it is that you have learned over your lived experiences for trusting yourself in your own responses and reactions, okay? And so it's oftentimes that through religion, Christian religion specifically, where there's this concept of holding back, what would be setting an energetic or physical boundary for what you will not tolerate within your experience. And to some degree, there are remnants of like people pleasing that comes with the culture of being in that faith-based system. And so you have to question, like, okay, well, they did this to me, like, is this appropriate, to respond this way or that way? And the reality is you get to choose every time. And so every time you react, that's an energy transfer with someone. So you really have to get good at breathing before the reaction, and pausing before the reaction. But that isn't to say that instinctually you don't have the spiritual authority after working on your presence and your awareness to respond how you in that moment need to respond. And so, I just wanted to emphasize this because when we hold guilt, shame, and confusion after different, actions, we cut ourselves off from the foundation we built that says we can protect ourselves, okay? And so within the collective, especially with foundations within Christian religion, I'll speak from that reference point because if you followed my journey so far, you know that there's been some basis there for me in my early conditioning. But there's this idea within the collective and culture and society of God's people and how God's people would behave, and where we're being called to expand that concept because all of God's people are actually the entire collective, right? Because we've all been created from source. That being said, this concept of how God's people should behave as it relates to, choosing the high road and whatever it looks like to essentially defer power. We've seen that where there's these seeds of people pleasing because, having to hold this idea of being an example of God's people. But in actuality, at a universal level, we don't owe anyone a damn thing. And this is what it looks like to steward your own spiritual authority. Now, is there cause to every effect? I think I've mentioned this before. Is there cause to every effect? Yes, there is. Because when you make a decision, it can be something that causes a ripple effect, from those actions. But when you are consistently living in intentionality and on the healing journey, then you're already well ahead of a lot of people who aren't even considering, what it is how they treat other people, okay? And that's really significant, because from that place is where you should hold confidence that your decisions and your choices are valid along a human journey that everyone gets to experience learning through. So we cannot hold ourselves to expectations of godly perfection, right? We get an experience of what it's like to create like God, okay? And I say this because through our lived experiences, we can start to understand, okay, where should I pivot, knowing the spiritual knowings that I have, what it means to be source embodied, interacting with different people who are at different levels of consciousness. And that's powerful because it's a lifelong journey for reaching the endless capacity of enlightenment that your soul can have in this incarnation, and even how vast your self-realization can be, right? Depending on how many things that you want to do in this lifetime. Because when you're truly tapping into the limitlessness and the expansiveness of a soul, then you know that you're not subjected to, one area or identity of creation or what you intend to create. And that's important because the only thing that's truly stopping that aspect of evolution is within limiting beliefs like this. And limiting beliefs, and I've been wanting to talk about this, y'all. Limiting beliefs are not just things that we hold at a surface level or at a conscious level of, what we can and cannot do as it relates to confidence or, our power. Limiting beliefs can also be what it is that we no longer allow ourselves to believe in, okay? And when we have these different experiences where we're challenged at what we were conditioned from versus what we've come to confirm ourselves, we can lose belief in good things coming to us and being able to attract those things and holding a vibration that brings those things in, when in reality we're just one perspective shift or one shift in our conscience that can allow for us to be that steward that I spoke about, okay? And so this is where you can discern or hold your own judgment over situations and people as to, whether it's a protection versus just spiteful behavior from yourself, okay? Or discernment across any level of decision making where you are either building more positive karma or more negative karma. It's going to look like a sum of karmic balance because mistakes may be made. Mistakes, I don't be using that word, but mistakes will be made along this learning journey. Where we're being asked to step into our power and source embodiment is understanding that we can allow forgiveness and surrender to step in, as opposed to us being the judge and jury over every single thing that we are learning through in this experience. Okay, babies? So, I just want you to take this wisdom with you as you make different choices and decisions, where you would feel empowered beyond certain religious programming, beyond certain societal or cultural programming, and allow yourself to shift into a power that allows you to continue manifesting exactly what it is you desire, or an alchemized version through this learning, okay? I love you guys so much. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments where this has resonated for you guys. And also let me know in the comments your opinions on, protection versus spite in the context of what you perceive is important spiritually, culturally, societally, or from your foundation of faith, okay? I love you guys so much, and I entertain what those comments will look like, because in this season, we are all collectively creating, and we can't fear, other people's criticism, constructive commentary, and standing in our spiritual authority as an individual, even within this collective. Okay, I'll see y'all in the next video. Love you so much. Bye.